The dead are coming out tonight. Boom, 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 boom. We are feeling the fright. Boom, 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 boom. Lord, we're gonna party tonight. Boom, 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 boom. We're gonna set everything right. Boom, 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 boom.
The maggots wiggled and fell off of its head as it hovered over Ed. Its body was in full rot mode and yet so strong, half its flesh colored like a corpse and some falling off. Carrie swung at its ribs with her bat, the crack of bones, and a spray of the darkest coagulated blood you could think of, and Ed was up and running. Carrie looked back as they ran and screamed, "It's getting up!" Again. Our hearts pounded as you could hear its steps getting louder and faster. For the love of God, at least, they were slow with Romero's films. Ed tossed a gurney on its side behind them as the duo rounds the corner. They hear the crash as the creature fumbled through the table, sounding like it hit everything in the hallway on the way down. That's when they heard a faint sobbing and the words, "Help me, help me." They froze in their tracks. Could it be another survivor back there? Possibly stuck in a room. They couldn't hear the dead head anymore. Ed crept back to the corner to look, and the broken hand of the undead ferociously grabbed Edie's neck and with a great heave hammered its bite down on him. Ed screamed like a wounded dog while the creature embraced him with abandon. Carrie was frozen in shock as Ed's blood sprayed out like broken hydrant. The saturated creature looked up with almost a grin and spoke softly, "Help me. Help me." Her legs took her running before her mind could realize the horror of what she had just witnessed. She busted out of the hospital doors running for the bicycles. Carrie pedaled the old mountain bike through abandoned neighborhoods, her legs burning from 30 minutes of desperate escape. The chain squeaked with each rotation, but the sound was better than silence. Silence meant she might hear them following. Behind her, smoke still rose from the hospital where she'd left Ed, where she'd been forced to leave Ed while those things tore him apart. The screaming had stopped minutes ago, but Carrie could still hear it echoing in her mind. Gas had been useless for over a year now. Old gas-destroyed engines and left highways littered with abandoned vehicles. The bicycle was salvation. Quiet, reliable, needing nothing but her own exhausted muscles to keep moving. So crazy how all the old movies and shows kept gas going for years. 60 days in a mower in real life, and it's useless. Carrie wiped her eyes with a dirty sleeve, finally allowing herself to feel the grief that adrenaline had pushed aside. But worse than the grief was the shock, the impossible memory of what she'd heard in those hospital corridors. "Help me. Help me." The voice had sounded so human. The group's camp was still 12 miles outside town. Marcus and the others needed to know that the undead had evolved, that they were no longer mindless creatures driven by hunger alone. They were learning, adapting, becoming something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The bicycle chain squeaked another rotation, carrying her towards safety in the crushing weight of explaining that their worst nightmares had found their voices. Night was closing in, fast. She would have to hunker down for the night. She found an old sedan that would work, popped the trunk and climbed in. Safe enough for now, she was awoken by the sound of something rubbing against the car. Then, that smell of rot. Was it one, two, or a horde? She could hear a woman's faint voice. "I'm lost. I'm lost." Then a deeper male voice. "Help. Help." Carrie could hear sniffing around the trunk edge and the scratching of fingernails on the seams. Sometime in the night it stopped and she passed out. Carrie's back ached from spending 12 hours curled in the trunk of an abandoned sedan. The cramped space reeked of motor oil and decay, but it had kept her hidden while the undead wandered through the neighborhood all night. Dawn light filtered through the trunk's edges as Carrie carefully pushed it open. The street appeared empty, littered with abandoned vehicles and debris from the early days of the outbreak. She climbed out slowly, muscles protesting after the night of confinement. Marcus and the group were 15 miles north, camped in an old ranger station that provided good visibility and multiple escape routes. But getting there meant crossing territory crawling with the dead, and now that they could speak, avoiding them had become infinitely more difficult. Carrie spotted the first group 3 blocks away, maybe 20 of them shuffling between overturned cars. She crouched behind a delivery truck and waited, watching their movement patterns. They seemed to be searching systematically, checking every vehicle and building with purpose she'd never seen before. Then, she saw a man hiding under a vehicle, surrounded. One of the creatures had no lower body. Crawling on the ground spotted him and did a mad scramble, grabbed his foot. The man panicked, screamed, and stood out from under the vehicle to run. It was too late, as 3 or 4 of them had grabbed him. One rotted hand reached into the man's mouth and ripped his jaw clean off. So much blood. He was swarmed instantly, arms being ripped off. His entrails became a tug-of-war rope for the dead, inadvertently, wrapping themselves up in them tangle of death and carnage. One of them called out in a child's voice, "Mommy, Mommy?" The sound made Carrie's stomach turn. These things were using the voices of people they'd killed, mimicking final words to draw survivors into traps. She waited until the group moved past, then sprinted across an intersection toward a line of abandoned shops. Behind broken windows, she could move between buildings without exposing herself to the street. The undead were everywhere now, more organized than she'd ever seen them. They moved in coordinated groups, covering ground methodically like search parties. Carrie had to backtrack twice when she encountered clusters too large to avoid. Near the edge of town, she found herself trapped. A massive horde blocked the main road north. Hundreds of them packed together, swaying in unison while voices called out from their ranks, "Help us! Please come help us!" Carrie retreated into a drainage pipe that ran under the highway. The concrete tunnel was barely wide enough for her body, but it led in the right direction. She crawled for what felt like hours, scraping her knees on rough concrete and fighting claustrophobia. The woods meant safety, easier to hear the dead, harder for them to maneuver. Not long now, a trip through the dry creek bed, and here was the camp, but no one around. Odd, no one in the lookout tower either. She resisted the temptation to call out. She made her way around to the mess hall. The doors were stained with blood. She gripped her bat tight and stepped back toward the edge of a structure, watching, waiting, listening. Nothing. Not a sound. Then she saw it. Something fast moving through the buildings, and then the thunder of Marcus's 45 1911 sound off with determination, then silence at first, then crunching. She rounded the corner, towards the sound at the back of the building. There lie Marcus, and this abomination sat atop of him. No skin, just crusted blood and glistening muscle. It dripped thick, dark fluid off its body as it tore through its victim's throat as it gorged on fresh flesh. Marcus' body twitched ever so slightly, like he had any chance. With all the strength he had left, he slowly raised his pistol up. The creature snarled at him in jest. Marcus's arm went limp as soon as the shot rang out. The bullet flew right into the beast's forehead with a thump. Its head threw back as the back shattered out, the insides blowing out the back like a cherry pie exploding on the 4th of July. Its head dropped. Carrie cried out in sadness. It raised its head and looked right at her with its one good eye. She could see right through the massive hole in the head left by the 45. Carrie was shocked when the creature leapt up, unfazed by the head trauma. It moved like lightning. Carrie ducked just in time. Blame it on one eye. The dead head tumbled past her. Pat hollered out, running toward her with a AR in his hands, blasting her direction. They can talk. Carrie ran toward him. The creature, bleeding and full of lead, charged in their direction as they jetted laterally. Another man stood where Pat had been and was pummeled by the sinister fiend. Pat and Carrie ran as fast as they could. As they got to the tree line, Pat whispered, "Headshots don't do nothing. If you don't smash them to bits, they just keep coming." She noticed Pat was bleeding bad. He looked up at her with that slick and said, "Sugar, it's just a flesh wound," then forcefully told her, "No go, survive. It'll catch up at the rally." But in his mind, he knew he was done for. They all were. He was just hoping at least one them would survive. As his eyes began to dim and his body felt cold, that hollow head lowered itself over him, almost smiling, saying, "Help me, please, help me." As Pat's eyes closed, his hand opened up, exposing 2 grenade pins. Boom, boom, baby.
The dead are coming out tonight. Boom, 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 boom. We are feeling the fright. Boom, 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 boom. Lord, we're gonna party tonight. Boom, 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 boom. We're gonna set everything right. Boom, 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 boom. We're gonna let God sort the outright. Boom, 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 boom.